Today I read a story on the BBC website. I've put a link up in the sidebar to it, which reports on demands that NHS staff should be given the right to discuss spiritual matters with patients. There seems to be two polar views expressed in this article. One being that recent cases where healthcare workers have found themselves being disciplined for discussing religion was making staff fearful, and the other is that religion and healthcare simply don't mix. And when I see articles like this one, I wonder if there's any hope at all in people behaving with a wee bit of common sense when it comes to religion. The argument against allowing NHS staff to discuss faith matters seems to be the slippery slope argument, that if we allow doctors and nurses to talk about religion with their patients, then the next step will be for them to start preaching. Or that patients offered religion by doctors and nurses will feel pressured into saying yes for fear of having their healthcare compromised, or that doctors and nurses will take advantage of people in a vulnerable state in order to recruit. Now, whilst these last two concerns may be valid, the slippery slope argument is not. NHS staff preaching on the ward is unlikely to happen. Now, cancer specialist Dr. Bernadette Birtwistle is reported as having said that it's getting to the point where many of us feel we cannot talk to patients about their spiritual or religious needs or ask them about praying. Christianity is seen as something that is unhelpful. Well, leaving aside this typical bleating lament of we Christians are so discriminated against, and whether or not Christianity is or is not unhelpful, it seems to me that if a patient is in hospital and they are religious, they should be free to talk with the NHS staff about it, and the NHS staff should be free to respond. A patient getting some comfort from their belief in God or whatever, that should form part of their care. But offering to pray for somebody out of the blue, now that to me is as unacceptable as an atheist doctor telling a religious person to stop being so stupidly superstitious that they pray. If someone asks the doctor or nurse to pray for them, then I say that it's the doctor or nurse's duty to respond with compassion and respect, regardless of their personal view. The feelings and the needs of the patient are paramount. But I have to say that this argument that is also mentioned in the article, saying that offering to say a prayer is a warm and kind thought which you can simply decline, isn't something that would sit well with me at all were I in hospital. If a doctor or nurse came up to me and out of the blue starts talking about God, I want them as far away from me as possible. As a gay atheist, I'd have quite a bit of concern about someone who was treating me, who was sufficiently motivated by what I see as being a hate-filled religion, that they felt the need to talk to me about it unsolicited. I do feel that people who believe strongly in the supernatural have questionable judgment. If a person wants to talk about their religion, then that should be their right, and the NHS staff should respond to the patient accordingly, in a sympathetic manner. But it should also be our right not to be exposed to a healthcare worker's superstitious beliefs. I say let the patient make the first move. Now, since I regard medicine as a science, I'd rather be treated by someone who I think can understand science rationally, rather than somebody who believes that I can be helped with magic. And I certainly have a hard time trusting my life to somebody who believes that I deserve to be stoned to death or to burn in hell for eternity. What it boils down to is respect for the individual and good judgment versus bad judgment. It isn't really any more complicated than that. If I want to hear about religion, I'll go to church. I don't need morons or mormons knocking on my door at 8 AM on a Saturday. And if I'm in hospital or at the doctor's, I'm there for the medical treatment, not a sermon.